Hello friends, welcome to today's video. Today's video is maybe going to be a little different, but maybe not. There's been some content on my channel lately about like fitness, food, wellness, but this one is specifically about, as you can tell from the title, running a 5K and going from being a person who very much a non-runner, like not at all, to somebody who ran a 5K. And I was able to do that in not that long, a few short months. So I want to tell you a couple things. I want to tell you about sort of like my thought process, my journey that I went through, how I ended up doing in the sort of, I don't want to say official 5K, we'll get into that I ran. A few tips if anybody is interested in trying to do what I did, and then also just where I'm going to go from here. And I have made some notes. If you see me looking down, that is what I am doing. So to start with, I wish I kind of remembered a little bit more where the idea of running a 5K came from. I think at the start of the year, I was looking for a way to set some fitness goals and sort of move away from focusing on specifically weight loss and numbers on a scale towards more of what my body could do in terms of strength and wellness overall. And it seemed like one of those kinds of things that was like, okay, there are very much programs set up for it. It's something I can do. And so I decided to try to run 5K. I actually had tried this before, like years ago, over 10 years ago, maybe closer to 15 years ago. Well, I tried a couple times. So I did try about 15 years ago. And I think I was kind of doing okay. And then I got to the point in the program where I had to run for like 10 minutes straight, when before that I only run for 5 minutes straight. And I just was not able to, and kind of fell off the rails at that point. And then I want to say maybe about 6 years ago, I did a 5K with some friends where I tried to train a little bit for it, and I did like a walk and run kind of thing, but probably didn't jog for any more than maybe like 3 to 5 minutes at a time. So going into this, I wasn't sure what my success was going to be, but I thought I would at least follow along with the program and do what I could, and it couldn't hurt to try, so why not? So I did a tiny little bit of research on what kind of app to use, and there were a few people who recommended the one that I ended up using. It was Fitness 22 5K Runner, and I'll put like a little screenshot of it up here. You do get, I think, maybe 3 runs at the start of the program for free, and then it is a paid app. I'm trying to remember what it was in Canadian. I think it might have been about $15, but I figured for my wellness, that was a good investment to make, and it was a one-time fee, so I can use the app as much as I want. And yeah, it does what you would expect a 5K app to do. It basically starts you out and gives you run-walk intervals for certain amounts of time, and then builds you up. That particular app is supposed to get you there in 8 weeks. It took me longer than 8 weeks to get there, but it's 3 run walks per week over 8 weeks. So I started out at the very end of January, and I started out running on a treadmill at first. Maybe you want to say, obviously, there's a lot of snow here in January, so I wasn't going to be running outside. And so yeah, I would get up every morning before work and go down and run on the treadmill. And it starts out at like 20 minutes of running and walking, not 20 minutes of running, but like a 20-minute session with like a minute of running at first and 2 minutes of walking, and then like a minute and a half and up from there. So I did that for about the first 3 weeks, and I didn't tell very many people. I told like 2 people in my life that I was starting this program, and sort of maybe thinking about signing up for a 5K because I hadn't actually done that at this point. Now, one of my friends who is very much a runner and fitness person, I want to say around the end of February, heard about this and got super excited and said we should go out for a run together. There was a day that was a little mild for it being winter, although the canal and everything was still frozen in Ottawa, but I want to say it was maybe like -5 degrees Celsius instead of like super freezing. And it was actually a good thing that we did that, because I ended up going out and buying a couple pieces of gear that I didn't have, like some good running leggings that would keep me warm, and also just like a good t-shirt that wicks sweat, and a lightweight jacket, because I just didn't really have anything to run outside in at that point. And so my friend and I went running, and they were super supportive. I couldn't run for maybe more than like 2 or 3 minutes at a time at that point without then going into the walking interval, but that was fine. But it was a lot harder running outside than running inside on the treadmill. But it was a fun thing to be able to do. So that was sort of end of February, I want to say. So it was around that point where I actually did sign up to run a 5K. There is a big Ottawa race weekend. It's sort of the biggest race event of the year that happens here in Ottawa, and it happens on the May 24th weekend. So I signed up for that knowing that that actually gave me like a number of months. So my plan was that I was going to run through the entire program inside on the treadmill, which would take me to the end of March. And then I would have April and May to get better at running outside, which was always a lot harder for me. And if I had to go back a few weeks in the program, that I would still have the time to be able to do that and build up to be able to run the 5K at the end of May. And I do remember that the first obstacle I had in all of this, where I wasn't really sure of myself, was when I first had to run for 10 minutes straight. Prior to that, they had been sort of getting you up to 5 minutes with like a 1 minute break in between, and then another 5 minutes, and then up to 8 minutes, I think it was, and then it was 10. And to me, it was so unbelievable that I was going to be able to run for 10 minutes straight that I was so sure I wasn't going to be able to do it. And when I did that on the treadmill that day, it was like mind blown that I was able to do that. Never in my life ever, I'm not an athletic person, had I ever trained for something and been able to improve doing it, which sounds like such a obvious logical thing. But for me, like, I'm good at studying and learning things and academics and that sort of thing, but I've never like played a sport. I've never like physically trained for anything. And so being able to hit that 10 minutes when it's something that I had never been able to do before was like such a huge thing in my head. And it was like getting through this barrier that I had never broken through before in my own physical fitness. That was amazing. So that was the good news. Now that happened, I want to say sometime in March, but then what also happened later on in March, my gym shut down. I am lucky enough to have like a little condo gym here in the building, but all of the amenities shut down as everything else shut down, and then I did not have access to the treadmill anymore. I want to say kind of luckily we did have a bit more of a milder end of March, I want to say. So it was getting to a point where I could run outside, but it became so much harder. This is where I was very glad that my friend took me out on that one running day, because otherwise I wouldn't have had like the proper leggings for running outside in the cold, because it was still cold out. You know, a lightweight jacket that I could wear when I was outside and really layer up in. But I suddenly had to run outside when I wasn't expecting to, and it was a little intimidating. So I did find that I probably had to go back a week in my training when I switched to running outside, just because it's a lot harder on your body. When you're on a treadmill, there's more padding to it, but also you're more just kind of bouncing up and down, and the treadmill is moving under you rather than actually having to propel yourself forward like you do outside. So it took a little bit of adjusting, but then I found I was able to get sort of back on program again. And I tried to make sure that I never went any more than 2 or 3 days without going out and running. Even if it was just, there were definitely times where I repeated the same workout, not actually progressing to the next one 2 or 3 times, because I just wanted to get to a place where I felt comfortable with it before going on to the next one. And that happened a bit more outside than inside. Now, as I was getting further into the training and I was getting around to week 7 of the 8 weeks, I found that I was curious about the distance I was going, because the way that the 5K runner app works is it always has a 5-minute warm up and then the run and the 5 minutes at the end. And you don't really map your distance particularly well. So I ended up downloading the Nike Run Club app. And again, I'll just put a picture of it there, because with that one, you can like map your distance in it, I think a little bit more accurately. So that's when I started looking more at the distance I was going rather than the actual time that I was running for. And I would say late April, there was a point where I was able to run for 30 minutes straight, I think, and I decided to sort of put on the Nike Runner app and set it to 5 kilometers just to see how long or how far I was actually running in that 30 minutes that I was doing. And it was a really nice day out, and I was feeling really energized, and I was in a good place, and I ran for the 30 minutes, and then I felt good to keep going, and I looked and I was almost like, I was at 4K, and I thought, I can do another, 7 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever it was going to be. And that was when I first ran my first 5K. And I have a little picture of myself looking like super happy. I like to document these things for myself so that I sort of see myself looking happy and proud. So I actually hit the point of running 5K, what date was it? April 18th, so more than a month ahead of when race day was. Now, again with the bad news, but expect it in this story, is the race was canceled. So I wasn't going to be actually running the 5K on May 24th, but something in my mind, it was still like, no, I'm still going to run 5K on that day. I'm going to record it. It's going to be a thing. I need to keep training to run 5K on that day so that I wouldn't just let it drop off. And I did. And what I tended to do, what I've been doing over the last little while, is running I want to say like 3 to 4 days per week, maybe 4 to 5 sometimes. No, 3 to 4. And generally I'll do like 3 or 4K during the week and then run 5K on the weekend on one of the days. So I still was keeping that up. I'd run 5K a handful of times. And then it came to be race day. I got up early in the morning because it has been fairly warm lately, and went out and turned on the music and started running. And I have to say, for the first kilometer, I was not even sure if I was going to do it. I just wasn't feeling great that morning. I had mapped out a path that was just sort of like a big loop that was fairly flat and took me through like shaded areas. And each loop was a little less than a full kilometer, so it felt like I was like making more progress than I was, if that made sense, because I knew that 4 loops was going to equal like 5K. And I was very happy that when I got to the end of it, which I felt like I was dying by the end of it, but I got to the end of it, not only did I get to the end, but I had my best time ever for running a 5K, and I did not feel that when I was running it because I was feeling not very good. But I ended up running my official race day 5K in just under 35 minutes, and I'll put the little picture up there. So I was super, super proud of myself. And yeah, super proud of myself. So that is the story of my journey. I know it's taken a little while, but let me give you a couple of my tips. If any of you are interested in doing what I did, first of all, let me just say, I figured at some point, like I look out and see people running who seem like they're having a good time doing it and like going along like they're in a rhythm and like, happy about the entire thing. I have not gotten there. I would say there are moments of time when I'm in the first 3K of running where I'm feeling good, I'm in a rhythm, I'm like singing to myself along with the music. The last 2 kilometers, or especially the last kilometer, if I'm running 5K, I am fighting every moment of it. So don't think that even if you sort of reach there and you've done it a handful of times that it is suddenly easy. It is not. It's not even necessarily enjoyable in the moment for that last kilometer, but it feels really good when you've done it. So my first tip, and I know this is impossible right now, but if it is at all possible to start out on a treadmill, I would suggest it. I feel like you get a few more easy wins on there. You're not as weather dependent. You have a lot more control over your environment, and it's just a little less impact on you, which is nice when you're first starting out. I actually like that the app that I use started out focusing on time rather than distance, because then it's just a matter of like keeping moving. You don't have to be going fast. You don't have to be setting a pace. As long as you keep your body moving, the time is going by and you will reach the next walk interval. I sometimes find when I'm now tracking myself by distance instead, it can be a little harder because you sort of feel like, well, if I slow down, it's going to take me longer. So I would recommend starting out with, as I said, measuring by time rather than distance. If you are following an app like the one that I was following, feel free to repeat days. If you really struggle through one and then your next run day, you're maybe not feeling 100%, just repeat the one that you did, or even move back one. Like, as long as you just keep having the consistency in doing the program, you don't have to keep making the advances each time. I repeated a lot of times. I went back and then worked my way forward again. You'll still get there eventually. This might be an obvious one, but find good music that you enjoy. That always keeps me pepped up. When I hit a song that I really like, it's like getting an extra bit of energy. And if you find some songs that work really well for the pace that you're going, you can actually search on Google, like the name of the song, beats per minute. And there are different sites that will give you listings of other songs that have the same, you know, beats per minute to it. So that's what I did sometimes when I was building my running playlist, was found songs that I enjoyed listening to, reverse search for other songs with the beats per minute, and then found songs I liked from that list. So I knew they would have the right tempo, because there are some songs that I thought I would really enjoy, and then when I listened to them while running, they were actually just a little too slow or too fast for what I wanted to be doing. And this one, more of a technical thing, and somebody in one of the comments suggested this in one of my videos, so thank you so much. I found when I first switched to outdoors that it was really hard, and I was finding it hard on my shins and on my legs, and a lot of impact. And somebody said what I needed to do was focus on taking shorter, faster steps rather than trying to get sort of a longer stride, because taking the shorter steps keeps your legs a little more under you. It just somehow centers your, I don't know what it was exactly, but it makes it less impact on your body than when you're trying to take longer strides. So sometimes when I would find my legs were hurting a little bit, or I felt a little off, I would concentrate on sort of taking shorter steps, a shorter stride length, rather than trying to sort of take longer steps. It's one of those things where it helped me out quite a bit to hear that, so I'm just sharing that as well. And for me, I found that since I did the run last weekend, which was the May 24th day, I actually went 4 days without running, which was strange for me over the last number of months. And I realized that part of that was that I had this goal in mind. So there's a couple of other things that I've done. I have a plan, although I haven't set a date because, you know, we're not allowed to get together with people yet, to sort of run 5Ks with like my friends, my friend who sort of supported me. We went out running in the winter and that sort of thing, so I'll have those dates. But then also I downloaded the Fitness 22 10K runner. I don't know that I'll ever get to running 10K, but it helps to have those sort of set workouts and things to work towards. And again, even if I just sort of repeat the same ones over and over again, it's nice to have sort of something to keep striving for, which I am looking forward to. So that is my story. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was helpful or inspirational or just interesting in some way. This definitely was not the journey I was planning on having to running 5K, both between not having access to a gym and having it canceled. So I'm super proud of myself that I still got there. And it's been much more enjoyable than I expected it to be. I don't even think at the start of this I believed I could do it. So yeah, I am incredibly proud of myself. Pats on the back to me seems a strange thing to say, but I'm proud of myself. And this is very much one of those things where it feels like if I can do it, as somebody who is, you know, in my early 40s and has never done anything really athletic before or ran ever before, you can definitely do it too. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you want to subscribe to my channel, feel free to do so. And I look forward to seeing all of you in my next video. Bye.